Hey guys, this is Shadowq, and today I'm doing a Athena tutorial video. So I'm going to first start by going over the moves. First, I'll talk about reach or passive. After using any ability, my next basic attack is a ranged attack, and it does bonus damage, and it goes through every enemy hit. My dash is it gets charged up, and then it deals damage and slows the first person that it hits. It goes through minions, but it does not go through gods. My taunt is just, well, a taunt. It makes the enemy auto-attack and run toward me for the duration. Maxing this increases the duration of the taunt. My 3 places down a shield wall around me. It does initial damage, and then if it explodes afterwards, if people are still in the radius, it does double as much damage the second time. So my ult is another important ability that you specifically target at a teammate, which is going to be hard for me to show in this video since there are no teammates here, but you basically aim it like this, aim it at a teammate, left click, and you teleport to them on the map, do damage around them when they land. And it also gives your ally a small amount of damage mitigation. So now I'll talk about each of the moves and how they're really used. First, my reach. This is actually a really interesting move. So if somebody's out of range of you, and like let's say you're going to secure a kill, if you have reach up, you can just go like this, and even if your 3 or taunt or dash isn't going to do anything, you can just use your 3 and get a reach again to do more damage from out of range. You shouldn't really do this unless you really, really need to try to secure like a Harpy steal or a kill or something like that, which is really rare, but it is a case that should be considered. Next, your reach is just really good for wave clear. Like, if you use this on a wave, that's like 6 auto attacks worth of damage. It's insane, plus it gives knockback. It's a very, very good way to wave clear. And the other thing that you should know about the reach is that it's super important to know that it affects your attack chain. Like, Athena's attack chain is 1, 1, and then 1.5 or 2 or something. Yeah, 2, 2. It's 1, 1, 2. So, if you have reach up, it's not going to be 1, 1, 2 because the first hit does not count as part of the chain. So you'll do the first hit, then 1, 1, 2. See how the third hit's not 2, but it's 1 after that? So regular attack chain, 1, 2, then big hit. With reach up, it's 1, 2, then big hit. Or one like, you do your reach, then 1, 2, big hit, I mean. Additionally, a good way to use Athena's attack chain is to do the big hit and then cancel that with an ability. So, for example, it would be like this. You do 1, 2, big hit, then use your ability right after that. And then as soon as this hits, charge your dash, then use that. So basically, using your move right after your big hit increases the amount of damage output that you deal. That's basically it for the passive, along with the attack chain. We'll talk about the dash now. Basically, this move has a couple different uses. Other than slowing and doing damage, it's really important that you get block stacks before the fight starts, because whenever it hits an enemy, you gain a block stack, which absorbs an auto attack, and that's really important because it's basically more health in the next team fight. So before the fight starts, you can just like dash on creeps in the jungle just to get the stacks. So like make sure you're always at 3 stacks before you fight, or if that's possible, if it's mana efficient, because it just makes you tankier in a fight. It's also really important to know that it's not always important to get the damage off from the dash. Sometimes you just need to be able to, like, if you're out of range of somebody, like just for the dash damage, it's really, really fine to just dash taunt. Like, that's still a really solid thing to do. You don't need to always get the damage. On a side note, though, let's say you're not going to be dash taunting anytime soon, and you're just in the middle of a fight. If you don't use your dash, you're just and you don't need to get out, then you're just wasting damage, because this is a ton of damage, it procs your reach, and it slows the target, which is really important for a fight. It's like, the slow alone is another form of control for your team, and that's huge. Plus, the damage is obviously going to help. So don't be afraid to use your dash in the middle of a team fight, even if it means that you won't be able to use anything out of it. And also, if you do need to just initiate on something, don't be afraid to not get any damage from the dash at all. So both cases are relevant, and that's about it. Another thing that you need to know about the dash is if you get CC'd by any hard CC in the game while you're charging dash, it gets cancelled. So you have to charge the dash again before you can do anything, and that's really important. That's like a huge part of Athena, because one of the counterplays to Athena is to CC, wait until her dash is full, almost all the way charged, then CC her like Ymir freeze right at that instant, and then she has to charge the dash all over again, effectively lengthening the duration of the CC before she can dash. So as Athena, you really need to make sure you can charge that right away, right after the freeze, or play around their ability to do that, which is super important. The only other thing I think I want to say about the dash is that it's knock-up immune, so like you can use it to immune all sorts of knock-ups like Sylvan Assault. So I'm going to talk about the taunt and the 3 together because they're really, really important together. And Athena is one of the weirdest supports in the game for that reason. The most important thing about Athena is people's ability to follow up on her moves. And that's like the entire character. That's the entire point of the character. She has, like, whereas a character wouldn't even be able to, like, blink, or would barely be able to blink alt, Athena can dash taunt further than that on a 10-second cooldown with max CDR. That's ridiculously good. The entire point of the character is to dash taunt people, get their actives, force your mage to do damage to them. It's just, that's the entire point. But if you do want to increase damage in a fight, you need to think about how you can get the second tick of your 3 off, because if you do your taunt then 3, that's nowhere near in range. The Odin bot's slow as anything. It's slow as molasses. And the second tick of your 3 is of course not going to taunt, or get hit if your taunt's at rank 1. But let's say you have someone like Kronos or Scylla or another mage that can CC them, you can freely max your 3 before your 2. Like, that's completely fine. So, like, let's say I do this, that taunt, and then right here, Scylla roots, they enter the ring, and boom, it's free damage. That's really, really important. If you have somebody, like, that can follow up out of Athena taunt, like a mage CC, that's really, really easy to guarantee the rest of the damage. So you could go a whole game with maxing your skills, which looks like you just put all your points into your 3. And just like 1 point in the taunt. Like, you can level the taunt after that. And that's not the case all the time, because sometimes you do need to guarantee the double damage of your 3, because this still is, like, barely enough. Like, at rank 2, it'll get the damage, but not if you're out of range when it starts it. So you have to really think about getting the second tick of your damage of your 3 off, and that's super, super important. Because sometimes you're going to be out of range and you need to 3 taunt, and they have to go in the 3 afterwards. So you have to know when to max the 3 and when to max the 2. And you also have to take into account, like, can they jump out of it? Can they, like, dash, jump, you know, anything out of it? Or if they have CCR on a thing like Winged Wand. And that's, like, the biggest thing on Athena. Getting the second tick of your 3 off is, like, everything on this character. So let's take a look at the full combo then. Let's say you're out of range, and you just need to initiate for your mage. And you're not going to get the dash damage. It would look like this, dash, taunt, or I did not auto-attack because I messed up. But we'll do it again real quick. You just dash, taunt, 3. That's really easy. If you're out of range and you just need to initiate and they could get out of range real quick, like, you just want to taunt immediately. So dash, taunt, 3. I messed up a little bit again, but pretend I didn't do that auto-attack and I just did the 3. That's it. And it was DR'd a little bit, so it's just dash, taunt, 3. You can even get an auto-attack off if you want. Doesn't really matter. If you have mage follow-up, that's great. If not, then whatever. But a lot of the time, a lot of Athenas that I see try to go in melee range when, like, let's say you are against an actual Odin, and you dash, taunt, and then 3, I mean dash, 3, then taunt, they're going to be able to jump out of it in time. Every single time. No Odin's going to let you do your 3 taunt, because it's way too slow. So unless you have, unless you're against, like, a Kronos or a, I don't know, maybe some mid without a jump like Poseidon, you just need to dash taunt. It's probably better most of the time. Next, it's really important to know who can follow up. If no one can follow up on your taunts, then you're not playing the character right. You need to yell at your mid to be there, or you need to just wait for your mid to be there correctly. If no one's able to follow up, just the 3 damage is generally not enough to get a full kill. Another thing is that if you do dash taunt, and then they beads, you need to be able to get the fuck out. Because there's no point in staying after they burn their beads if, like, it's not going to be a kill. A lot of the time I hear people, like, if I dash on Athena, I hear people be sad that they beads instead of us getting a kill. That's, like, exactly what you want. You want to get the beads from the characters that you're taunting. If you get beads, the next time you taunt, you get a kill. That should not be a sad thing. That's a very good thing. But if you get their beads and then stay and still try to dive their tower, you're probably going to die. Because they probably just trade up with you because you used your move that did nothing because of beads. So beads is generally get out, because you lose value that way. Or you gain value by getting out, that is. Next we'll talk about the early, mid, and late game. Athena's wave clear is actually some of the best in the game, and we're going to look at her at level 3, because that's what I really want to show. And there won't be an enemy god in the lane, so it's going to be a little bit harder to show, but that doesn't really matter. So some of the really important things about our laning phase are that you don't have to max the taunt until level 4, and if you can group up the creeps, her 3 will one-shot them. You just instantly clear the wave. And it's going to be really hard for me to show it like this, but let's say there's an enemy right here. I just dash through the melee, hit the enemy, The melee creeps walk to the backs because I have them aggroed to me, and then I 3, it clears the whole wave instantly. It's the easiest clear in the entire game. It's probably the single best clear in any support in the game, and that's why she has so much pressure laning phase. Um, you can also the way to do it is like, uh, there are a couple ways to do it. You could dash through the whole wave because it's more damage, use your reach proc to hit an enemy, the creeps will walk to the backs, and use your 3, and you reach through the whole wave again, and kill it. It dies very quickly. It's really easy to do, but it requires you to play aggressively and push the wave. It's really simple to do, but you have to like tank the creeps for a few hits. But if you do that, you get lane pressure, and if you do that and the enemy doesn't know what you're doing, you could probably actually just initiate on them, because they might not expect the entire wave to die from 2 moves from its support. And you could probably just go ahead and be aggressive out of that. Like, if the full wave's cleared and that you make them tank creeps, you have a huge advantage. So let's talk about how to play in the early mid and late game, which I already talked about a little bit. But in the early game, you want to clear the wave as fast as possible, like I described. You want to dash on them, or dash the wave and reach them, and then 3, when the creeps are all grouped up, it'll kill them very quickly. And then since you have early laning pressure, you should try to out-rotate to mid-harpies, to red, the blue, to anything, just get early pressure and fight. And you can also use your ult to go to soul lane or whatever if anyone needs help. Basically just be ready to rotate, be ready to fight. You have a very strong early game exclusively because of your laning pressure. Next, in the mid game, if you don't do anything, if you're playing really passive on Athena, you're doing it wrong unless you have a really, really bad mid. You kind of just want to look at their mid, dash, taunt, have your mage follow up, root them or whatever, get the second tick of your 3 off. You need to be aggressive, you need to have your mid ready to follow up, and that's it. Just be aggressive, go ham. Look at dash taunts from mid, ADC, jungle, anyone that you can get free damage on. Your strength is aggression, and follow up from your taunts. In the late game, it's kind of the same way, except you have to be really careful about when you're going in, and you can't taunt tanks anymore. If you taunt tanks into the late game, you're going to lose the fight because your whole team uses spells on the tank, they live with 60% HP, and then your whole team gets initiated on by everyone else in the game because you're not threatening anymore. So basically, same as mid game, except do not taunt tanks. Whereas you can in the early game, especially with strong mages that can just blow up a tank. I guess that's about it, guys. Really appreciate you watching. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, whatever the heck your platform you're watching this on. And I'll see you guys next time.